Welcome to Home Means, where the heart of Nevada comes alive. I'm your host, Heather Brown, and this is a place where we uncover the real stories behind the people who make our state extraordinary. From unforgettable adventures to everyday moments that shape us. This podcast is all about the voices, the faces, and the experiences that make Nevada truly unique. Let's dive in and get to the heart of what home means. Welcome back to another episode of Home Means. Today, I am honored to have Stephanie Goodman here. We've only known each other for a little bit. We met when we were both running as Regents, so I think we've been in each other's life for about 30 months.
Oh, good. Yes,
I only know that because I bought my house 30 months. It was a very
I'm very
crazy
impressed.
time for everything. But I have really just enjoyed getting to know you and being your colleague. You are also a Vegas native. So tell me what the word home means, the phrase home means. What does that mean to you?
Well, for me, home means Nevada, of course, but it also means my family. Both of my parents are here. My dad came here from Paris when he was 14 and went to Gorman High School. My mother met my dad in Europe and flew out here in 1967 and married him. And so my family's here. My roots are here. My closest friends are here. Not only was I born here, but I also went to UNLV, and I was a Sigma Kappa. I am a Sigma Kappa, and I met some of my closest friends of my life there. And so now I've had my children here, and I love being here, and I want to make Nevada a better place.
I love that because I feel the same. I mean, we know this is a special place. Your time at UNLV, you were student body president. Do you think that really encapsulated this idea of this being your home when you were in college, discovering yourself, and then taking on a leadership role like that?
I mean, yes. I mean, I loved, I wish I could say that my reasons for running were that noble. It was more like it was a kind of a fraternity party before, and they were having parties and only like certain people could come. And, I was a little righteous about it. And I thought, well, I'm going to run. And I had a girlfriend that talked me into it. And so I mean, really it was, I wanted to beat the guy. So it was more that. It wasn't that kind of thing. But I would say, like, growing up, I mean, my dad worked at Caesar's Palace. Like, I played tennis there. I kind of, I grew up at Caesar's Palace pretty much, It was kind of funny that we'd go to the Bacchanal room, or we'd go to the buffet, or I'd play tennis 4 or 5 days a week. Like, it was really great. I loved doing all that. I was a ball girl for the Allen King tennis tournament. So it's all those things, like, it's really more my childhood that formed all that. So
You and I have a shared experience. I also grew up in Caesar's Palace.
Oh.
My mom worked front desk there.
Okay.
My grandpa was a baccarat dealer.
Really? I wonder if you knew my dad.
I bet.
We'll have to talk about that
Yeah.
offline. When I tell people, I was born and raised in Las Vegas, and I don't know, it's such a unique history, and, then you speckle in just all of the stuff that happened with the mob, and, it's so rich and interesting, and you can talk to people that are from here, and we can just totally bro down on, like, what we love about old Nevada.
I feel like, we do a really good job at documenting that now, but looking back on, so much has changed. I mean, before the podcast, we were talking about your time working at the city of Las Vegas for Mayor Goodman, and, boy, has he seen just such a difference.
Unbelievable.
But when we think back at Vegas of old and Vegas today, what is something that changed that you wish that we could bring back? And then what is something that you're excited changed?
I loved how small Vegas was, and it still is a small town. I think professionally, it is a very small group, but I just loved. I loved the Ratskeller. I don't know if you remember the Ratskeller, but it was in the basement of the Alpine Village Inn, And, I loved going to these really kind of just cool, kitschy places that were just so uniquely Las Vegas. So I miss that, I miss that kind of old school. I miss the Tillerman was another restaurant back when I was growing up that was so great. And you would always see people there that you knew. And it was just really, it was fun. Like I remember just being a kid and just eating it all up and loving it all. The things that I like that's changed is now, gosh, the shopping, the restaurants. You can't beat that. We used to have to go to Southern California to, get certain things because you couldn't order it online because we didn't have online back then. But, it was this thing where, we used to have to literally go to California and South Coast Plaza or Fashion Island to buy stuff. And now, now it's all here and the restaurants are great and you can have a really special occasion and really do it up, amazingly here in Las Vegas, just to take that, once a year trip down to the Strip or,
Yeah.
or, whatever. I don't go down there that often. So,
But I do think it's funny that we used to have to leave, and now people come here for their shopping. We lamented ourselves as the entertainment capital of the world, and we deserved it. And now we're the sports and entertainment capital of the world.
Right.
And I think that happened so fast.
It was overnight.
We used to have to go to LA if we wanted to go to a professional sporting event.
I know. Well, what was interesting is I think it was 2002. I was working for Oscar, and he was talking to David Stern, and who was the head of the NBA at the time, and Gary Bettman, and I think it might have even been Pete Rozelle back then, who was heading up the NFL, and Gary Bettman was the NHL. And so, everyone was, yeah, we love Vegas, but Oscar always believed back then that we were a major league city, and that's what he would tell people. We are a major league city, and so many people just poo-pooed him, and said, "Oh, please, it's never going to happen." And look at it now. Now we're going to have, 3 major sports. The only thing we don't have here yet is the NBA, and Oscar called it. And I loved working for such a visionary that was able to really see what Las Vegas could be. And it was pretty exciting. So.
I think we often forget that there are some visionaries still amongst us that laid the foundation for what we are today. Mm-hmm. And I think, Oscar and Carolyn at the same, those were 2 very big visionaries that changed the city for the better. I feel like,
100%. And in the private industry, Steve and Elaine Wynn did incredible things. My friend Alan Feldman has done incredible things at Steve Wynn's behest, just really moving the needle and even in his own right. There's just so many great people who have changed the face of this town. It's pretty incredible, I feel privileged to have been a part of it. It was pretty neat to work, be chief of staff for the mayor and be able to, be a part of all of these negotiations and conversations. And, the Smith Center wasn't there. None of these places were there. It was all a dream. And when Oscar ran, it was anybody but Oscar is what they had printed on the front page of the newspaper. And I remember I was working at R&R, and all the head people at R&R were like, do not go work for him. And I was like, I'm doing it. I'm so excited. This is going to be the best job ever. And guess what? It was. It was literally the most incredible experience.
I think I'd love to hear more about that because, you've had an incredible career, and I'd love to hear what are some leadership things that you learned maybe from mentors that you had or just being a woman in the world, right? You've had some big wins, and I'd love to hear what that leadership looked like.
Well, I had some great mentors. I had Oscar was a great mentor. Carolyn actually was a mentor for me long before I even worked for Oscar. I like to say that I was almost an arranged marriage because when I was in the womb of my mother, she said, I'm going to save one of my boys for you. So, but Carolyn's just always been there for me, and she's been incredible from a professional standpoint. There was an ad gal here years ago, Diane Dickerson, and she was wonderful, and I learned from her. And I think what I learned the most, just being a woman in Las Vegas, was I didn't look at myself as a woman. I just looked at myself as a person that was going in there, that was respectful, that really learned how to navigate some of those interesting scenarios. And I also have a personality where I can respect the old school. I really love they say good old boys. I love the good old boys. I love hearing the stories. We were talking about that earlier. I respect it too. And I think that's something that you can definitely take that and build from it.
I think there is something really special about just listening to Old Boys Club and like how they got things done. But I also like that, we chatted about it at the top of the hour, but we're both elected officials and we put our name on the ballot and we have had scrutiny. We've had to make tough choices. And I know I've worked for people that have given me that, that
Grit.
confidence and that grit, right? Was it your time in Las Vegas, or was it kind of just your trajectory of a family that came here, grew up here? Where can you find that grit? Like what can you point back to?
Well, you can have a very strict Italian father. So I think that's probably the start of it all. Things and then just getting thrown into those scenarios, through work. I remember my first advertising job, I was like an account executive on a huge account. It was the Luxor back in the early 2000s. And it was right when they opened. And I got reamed for pulling a job because it was a print job. Back then they would, the big thing was you got to send out that New Year's invite, and it had to get out at a certain date, a certain time. And if it didn't, all hell would break loose. And so, there was a problem with the job, like the printing would, like the printer, there was a problem on the press. And so I pulled the job and I had two, I'm not going to say who it was, but I had two of like the biggest people in Las Vegas at the time completely like telling me like, they just told me how bad and poor and a terrible job I did. And, I just swallowed it and said, well, this is my job. I had to do what I had to do. But you get thrown into those scenarios where you're just like, oh my God, these people are screaming at me right now. And back then it was acceptable to get screamed at, like things were a little different. And it helps you cut your teeth, And
I've also had some experiences where powerful people and bosses have yelled at me and you're just like, well, I can learn or I can get upset. But I want this job, so you learn.
Yeah, you learn.
And I do hope that there's a way, and I know you have two children, and I hope there's a way for, this next generation to learn that and really feel that, right? I'm sure there's different ways of doing it, but I do think it's important to realize when you fail that there will be consequences.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to stand up, take the next step forward, and just move on.
It's just going to give you that character that's going to let you handle the next scenario even better. So,
and I think when we look at, the big thing right now is diversifying our economy. We've talked a lot about this.
The big thing for 25 years.
Well, .com bubble, the economic downturn, and then the pandemic, right? You have the bookends of 2 decades that you saw high unemployment rate. And I think it's no longer just this like sexy term that we can talk about. We actually have to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think that the higher ed institutions are a big part of that.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, we have 8 higher ed institutions, 7 academic. Where do you think their place is in the economic landscape of diversifying? But like, how do we, yes, it is our fiduciary responsibility to make sure that they are going in a good direction. But where do you think the community falls in with that?
Well, I think you're doing some great work on workforce. I have to say that. And I think that, I think it's our responsibility to create those pathways, right? So that we can get our students into those varied fields. But, as a community, we need to make education a priority in this state, okay? So that's number one. So we need to really hold our elected officials accountable and make education a priority. And I think we need to be thinking outside of the box a little bit, there's some things that we can do in this economy, but it's a little bit of a risk. And a lot of times people don't want to take a risk, Right now, UNLV has all that land. We should maybe be doing something that is AI based, right? I mean, it requires a lot of energy, but maybe there's things that we can do out there that could really make a difference for Nevada. We should probably talk offline, but I just think that that's what we have to do. You need the leaders that aren't afraid to maybe take that calculated risk.
I mean, you and I talk about this a lot, obviously, because we're Regents, but because we're community members. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, one common theme that we keep having is innovative and, this ability to trust our instincts and go for it and bet it all on black, right? Like this hospitality, but this like really energetic vibe that comes out of our city. And I do think that there is a way to really embrace that in this next, wave of leaders that are coming through, whether it's in industry, whether it's in higher ed, or whether it's in government.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. I couldn't agree more.
I think we're really lucky to shape the higher ed system because we need to go after those high-paying, scalable, long-term jobs. We can't do these, lower income jobs anymore. Right. It's not fair that our people have to, the cost of living is still affordable, but it's getting unaffordable for so many.
Well, and then we do things like F1, right? So we're doing F1s here, and my dad still works because he thinks that if he stops working, he's not going to be around anymore. So he still works at the Wynn. And when F1 is here, my dad, I understand. He has to leave an hour early for work, and it takes him an hour later to get home. And that's okay if they want to talk about F1 and Super Bowl, all these, great events, all this stuff. But can we at least provide our citizens with quality education? Can their kids go to a good school? So they can get a good education, and can they get decent health care? I mean, like literally, like I'm so sick of hearing about how, our service workers on the Strip and dealers and cocktail waitresses and servers, all these people, they work so hard, they do so much, and they really are the lifeblood of our city. Yeah. And here we are, we can't even ensure that their kid's going to get a good education and that they're going to get good health care. And that's really what we need to be doing more of, and I'll just stop there.
Well, I mean, and my brain is all of a sudden like spinning because it gets all of a sudden really political. Because what I was about to say is that we are really lucky to have 4 medical schools in this state, 2 public, 2 private, but we don't have the GMEs. So we train.
Oh, I'm working
right?
on it.
Right. But I mean, we train all of these incredible doctors and then they leave and talk about taxpayer subsidized education that we will never reap the benefits of.
100%.
And we are just not in a position to do that.
A resident, I believe the scale is the resident has a 80% chance of staying where they are. If they graduate, it's like 60%. It's a scalable thing that goes down, but we need these residencies. It's vital that we have these residencies, and I'm actually involved in something with all of that right now that I think it's very important for us to make sure that we're doing the best we can to secure that. It's vital for our state. So,
I mean, I'm sure there's some state program where we could maybe give tax incentives to hospitals if they expand. I mean, we just have to get creative. And I know in a state that doesn't have a lot of taxes, it's hard to give anything back. I mean, I work in economic development. I hear that all the time.
Right.
But, these rates were, established in 1996. We were a very different community in 1996.
When you say rates, you mean Medicaid?
The federal GME allocations.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
I heard those are never going to increase. So
which is wild.
I don't know. I mean, there's just things that we need to do. This is a monumental problem that we really need to tackle. And so, I don't know. I'm working on it. I'm looking into it. It's tough, it's tough when you're kind of, your hands are tied, and this is a federal allocation, or this is, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's a little frustrating. So,
Well, I am optimistic because I feel like we bring up things and
We do talk about
there,
it, don't we?
yeah, well, one, we talk about it, but I also have been really impressed, shout out to the Board of Regents for, you were in student government, I was in student government. We all have our history outside of, actually being regents with the board. And I want to just say for the record that I think this board has an opportunity and that we have the energy to actually make a lot of changes.
I agree. I agree. And not only that, even if we don't see eye to eye on issues, we're able to have a conversation about it, which I think is the first time in a very long time.
I really love that. And honestly, that is the whole reason why I started this podcast, is because I do think this place is so special. I mean, not just
love that
because
you're
we're
doing
born
this.
here, but we have so much to tell, so many untapped, incredible things that I get excited about the opportunity to tell the story.
Well, I'm also excited because I saw one person, and granted the council supported him, but I saw Oscar have a vision. And I mean, when you look at what downtown was in 1999 when he started, it was a blight. And you look at it now and it's amazing, and it's a real community, and it's beautiful. And I told our interim president, UNLV, that we need to take some notes on their streetscape for Maryland Parkway because it's so, it's great. It's just, so it's amazing. This, and granted, it's a lot of people worked along, but you had this voice that was like, you're not crazy. We can make this a great place, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think that actually speaks to kind of like the spirit of Las Vegas. Yes, when there's a good leader and they have a vision, we tend to get behind them. And I think Oscar is a really good example of that, right?
I think Kenny Gwynn was a great leader. Kenny Gwynn was a great governor. I mean, he was I adored him. He's a really good person, and he did what was right for our state, and he was able to cross the line. It's like the Tip O'Neill, Ronald Reagan, better luck next time, buddy. Like we've got to get back to that. Like, it's just, I don't know. I think it was Congressman Cummings that used to say all the time, and the late Congressman John Lewis, they both used to say, we've got to get back to center, and that's what I hope one day we can get there.
I mean, but I look at our state and I feel like our state is moderate. I feel like, we don't really swing one pendulum, one way or the other.
And we have so many independents now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think our political future is going to be really interesting, but that is one thing I tell people when they're looking at relocating. I said, I love our politics. I love that at the end of the day, we love Nevada, and we want you to have a good life here.
I agree. I
And
agree with that.
that's how I've always approached this. And personally, I want to be, very empathetic towards all of the different, problems that we're having, but it's not about politics. It's about people. And I think that at its core is very Nevada.
I agree. I'm with you.
So you've obviously had a lot of really impactful work done. Can you tell about a time where the service that you were giving really made a personal impact on you?
I did some really incredible work, and I found it to be very personal when I was doing work for the American Institute of Minimally Invasive Surgery. And we did this whole campaign, and we did the ad campaign, but I was stunned to see that there were women out there that were, because their doctor didn't know how to do a minimally invasive hysterectomy, the doctors were saying things like, you don't qualify for that. And for me, like they're going to open up this woman, 6 weeks longer in recovery time because the doctor didn't want to lose the patient, but the fact of the matter is the doctor didn't know how to do a laparoscopic surgery. And so for me, like I took that whole campaign so personally, and I really, wanted to make sure that we got that awareness out when it came to women. Like you've got to know. It's just, it was malpractice to me, that a doctor could do that. So that was probably in the past of that I took personally. And I'd say now I really take personally the work I do in the problem gambling field. So I run a center for gambling addiction. And I believe that people are culpable for what they do. You have to be responsible. And in the work we do, if you don't want to get the help, it's on you. Like there's nothing we can do. But if you want to get the help, you can really do well. And I do take it personally in trying to get gaming corporations to support the work that we're doing, and understand that although we are a fee-for-service kind of state funded, we need extra funds. We need their support. We need you to be able to let someone self-exclude. Let's not be predatory on the people in our community that have a biological addiction. I could talk about it a lot, but we won't continue.
Well, no, I mean, but the ability to be selfless in the work that we do is special, because not everybody can do that, right? I mean,
it's amazing, and my counselors are incredible. I mean, it's a really neat place. Like you would think like a gambling addiction center. You're like wah wah. It's not that way at all. Like it's so happy, and everybody's there for the right reasons, and it's a really cool thing. And I mean, I don't, obviously like I said, I'm not a therapist, but I'm a facilitator basically. I make sure that the business is running, that the counselors have everything that they need monetarily and otherwise to make sure that we can do the great work we do. And I always felt that the best doctors just want to be with their patients or their clients. And doctors are not great business people for the most part. Some are, but for the most part, they're not, because they just want to help. They just want to help their patients.
I do think, we talk about mental health. We talk about all these things that are much more prevalent in conversation. I feel so grateful that we are in a timeline where we can actually have an open dialogue about that. Because I remember
it's changed a lot.
Yeah,
it was not always this way.
No, and obviously we have a long way to go on a lot of fronts. Mm-hmm. But I do appreciate that we are starting to really open this, just comfortability of talking about these things. So.
Oh, 100%.
So, well, I know that you've spent years kind of behind the scenes, and you've really, the work you've done has made Nevadans and the families like so much better. What motivates you to keep showing up and serving?
I'm totally excited. Like I love our meetings. I love getting jazzed up for those. I think it's just really, it's a great time to be here and be in Nevada. And I also really like giving back. I mean, I don't know if my kids are going to come back here or not. They're going to be heading off to college, but I would hope they would, and that we're building this great community for our children, really, and hoping to leave it better than when we got here.
Well, I'm optimistic that there will be something for them. I left and I came back. Mm-hmm. So there is that. We're seeing it. We're seeing it. Yeah.
No, otherwise, I'll be like, where am I moving? And I don't really want to move. So, yeah, there's that.
If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing for the better in this state, what would it be?
I would say that I wish we could kind of go back to where we were. I loved Las Vegas in the 70s and 80s. Even in the 90s, like I just loved it. I feel like, of course, growth is progress. Of course, it's, we need to grow. At the same time, I kind of miss old Vegas. This is the only place where, you come to town. I don't know if it's still the same, but back then you could meet with the governor, you could meet with the mayor, you could meet with whomever. It didn't matter. Like you're getting a proclamation and the mayor's going to present it to you. Like this kind of stuff does not happen in a Philadelphia, or anywhere, any of those big cities back east. So it is pretty interesting and great. We still cherish that old kind of just old hometown kind of feel, which I love. So
yeah, you hear me say this a lot, and I think I'm going to repeat it on every episode, but there are 2.4 million people, and I know all 50 of them.
Right.
And I love that.
I've never heard you say that before. No, this is a new one. That's good.
Yeah, it is. And yes, we are not that small town anymore, but at its core, the people who genuinely care and want to see this place move forward, mm-hmm. It still feels that way to me.
Oh, very much so. I mean, it's always the same people when we go to different events. It's always the same, which I think is really endearing. So
think that's a good example of just a group of people who could, like I said earlier, you could just go home and live your life and go back to work the next day. And, I love that for you. But that's not who we interact with.
Yeah.
People we get an opportunity to interact with care about the city and give back and volunteer and want to make sure that they're on boards and, their voices are heard, and we are moving the city in a very strategic way.
Yep.
And I feel so blessed to know them and to hopefully be a part of them in a very small way, because I know you're passionate about this. I'm passionate about the city. I just think that there's so many endless possibilities here.
I agree. And I mean, there were so many stakeholders that really paved the way for us, going back to, the 90s, when they were just really like, okay, what else are we going to do? And there's just some great stuff that's happened here. And there's some great examples of incredible leaders in our state that have done wonderful things. And I think that, we're trying to carry the torch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, honestly, that's why I started this podcast, is because I genuinely believe that we have so many incredible stories, and we have
100%.
the most amazing community. And people just, the number one thing I hear from folks when they come here for a site visit or they want to ask about what it's like to do business here, the number one thing I always hear is, I had no idea.
We brought Cleveland Clinic out here probably in 2003 to come and just kind of see if they would do actually just do Cleveland Clinic. Now, obviously, we put them with, Larry Ruvo, and now we have the Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health, and Cleveland Clinic runs. I mean, it's just an incredible facility. But I remember, that was, it was a big concern too, though. They came out here, but again, education. We've got to make it more palpable for these individuals when they come out, so they can be like, yeah, I want this,
Yeah, I feel like this place is just really taken off in so many different ways, and having the fortitude and foresight to make sure that we had the Cleveland Clinic represented here, and look what it's done. I mean, shout out to the all the incredible work on Alzheimer's that's being done.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it is amazing, and it's happening in our backyard.
It's incredible, but again, that's another passionate leader. I mean, Larry and Camille Ruvo have done so much and just given back tirelessly. Just it's amazing, but it was a personal thing. Larry's father had Alzheimer's, and what they did, what they built here is it's world renowned. It's internationally one of the best clinics that you can go to, and that's a Las Vegan. Larry went to Gorman High School, like, with my dad. I mean, like, so this is,
I have
this old,
goosebumps.
yeah, it's old Vegas that said, you know what, I'm going to do this, and never took no for an answer. And it's those kinds of stories that can really give you, can raise you up and make you think, wow, if they could do it back then with the resources we have now, why can't we do it now? So it's exciting. Yeah, knock on wood.
All right, we are going to end this with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
All right, what is your favorite local restaurant?
I got to say Grape Street, just because I've known John and Annie forever, like 20 years plus, and it's a great place.
What's a must-visit spot for newcomers?
Well, I think you have to go. I think you have to go to Red Rock. I think that there's just so much beauty out there, and I live like 10 minutes from Red Rock, and I go hiking up there all the time, and I love it.
What's your go-to coffee shop?
My house. I have one of those fancy coffee machines, so I don't even go to coffee places. I don't go to coffee places.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite place to unwind?
I unwind very well at a bar. I'm pretty good at unwinding at a bar with a good friend or something like that. It's pretty chill,
What's the best view in the city?
Yeah, the best view really is at the top of Summerlin Parkway. Like, if you go all the way up there, that's the best view. There's also a best view from one of my friends lives in Anthem Country Club, and that view from that side is also amazing. But I really love, like, when you're just at the top of Summerlin Parkway. I mean, back in the day, we would go to the top of Sahara when I was in high school. that was where everybody would meet. But those views from that elevation are beautiful. Great.
What's your favorite thing to do on the weekends?
Well, I need one day to chill. I'm kind of like Elaine from Seinfeld, where she would be like, I need to like have my decompress time on Sundays. So I need a day to chill and get all my stuff done around the house, and just kind of do in my own time what I need to do. And then I like to go hiking. I love to go hiking, and occasionally I love to go to one of my favorite restaurants and do a little shopping. So I meet my girlfriends sometimes.
All the best,
Yeah.
just weekend activities. I love that. For visitors, so this isn't newcomers, it's visitors. What is a must-have experience? If we're going to tell them to get off the Strip.
Maybe go to Piero's or something, like
Oh,
go to an old
yeah.
school Vegas restaurant. That's always fun. Still, you can still run in, like, even though it's so convention-y, you always see people there. The Monkey Bar at Piero's.
And then last question, what is the most underrated perk of living in Nevada?
It's a great place to raise a family and have your kids. Like, it is, I mean, really, I love to take the kids to Zion. You're like 2 hours from Zion, or maybe 2.5, right? You're so close to Southern California. So you can do all of this traveling with your kids in your car, right? I mean, I remember growing up, I didn't even get on a plane until I was 16, and it was to go to a track tournament in Arizona. But like, it was my family. All we did was drive everywhere, but I kind of am the same. I just love to do all of that. And really, I mean, there's so much to do. I mean, there's like Floydland Park. Like I used to take my kids out there all the time and go up to Red Rock, go like all the things we were talking about, go do the railroad trail at Boulder City, go antiquing in Boulder City. I mean, there's so many things you can do. And, I think people just don't see past the Strip, if so that's why it's an underrated perk, because it really is a great place to raise your family.
No, I couldn't agree more. And we said it earlier, but I had no idea. I hear that a lot. And it's being in the community and seeing where people are raising their kids. And it is something special. So
It is something.
well, I could sit here and talk to you all day long because I
could.
feel like we have a lot, and I'm making mental notes of things that we talked about that we need to talk more about. We'll do a part 2.
Okay, great. Sounds good.
But thank you so much. And I think this really encapsulated what home means to you and what makes this place so special. So
Well, you make it special too. Thanks for doing the podcast. It's awesome. Thanks for having me.
thanks for being here.
Yay.